What if your thoughts don't just exist inside your brain, but extend out into the very fabric of reality itself? For centuries, we've believed that consciousness is just a byproduct of neurons firing, a mere illusion created by the brain. But what if that's wrong? What if the mind isn't just something that happens inside our heads, but something far bigger, something woven into the fundamental structure of the universe? Quantum physics has revealed a world stranger than we ever imagined, a world where particles exist in multiple states at once, where observation changes reality, and where distant objects appear to communicate instantly. Could consciousness itself be operating on these same principles? Could the act of thinking, of simply being aware, be shaping reality in ways we've yet to fully understand? Tonight, we dive deep into the quantum mind, where the boundaries between thought, matter, and the universe itself begin to blur. If the brain is merely a biological machine, processing electrical signals, then why do we experience the world subjectively? Why do we have an inner life, a sense of self, an awareness that we are aware? Traditional neuroscience tells us how neurons fire, how synapses connect, how memories are stored, but it fails to explain why we feel anything at all. This is the mystery of consciousness, a riddle so profound that it has divided scientists and philosophers for centuries. Some argue that consciousness is just an illusion, a byproduct of brain chemistry. But others believe that something deeper is at play, something that defies conventional science. Enter quantum physics, a branch of science so bizarre that it challenges everything we think we know about reality. In the quantum world, particles exist in multiple states at once until they are observed. The simple act of looking collapses their possibilities into a single reality. But what is it about consciousness that changes the physical world? And then there's entanglement, the eerie phenomenon where two particles, separated by vast distances, remain mysteriously connected. Information seems to travel between them instantly, defying the laws of space and time. Could this strange link also apply to the human mind? If matter itself behaves in ways that defy logic, existing in multiple places, responding to observation, communicating across space, could consciousness be more than just an accident of biology? Could it be woven into the very fabric of the universe? What is consciousness? Scientists can describe how the brain processes information, but no one truly knows why we experience thoughts, emotions, or self-awareness. Some theories suggest consciousness is just an illusion, a side effect of neural activity. But others propose something far more profound, that the mind itself might be a quantum process, operating at the very limits of reality. Could our thoughts influence the physical world at a fundamental level? Is the brain just a biological machine, or is it a receiver, tuning into a universal field of information beyond space and time? And if consciousness isn't confined to the brain, could it persist beyond the body? Could it survive death? These questions have puzzled scientists, philosophers, and spiritual seekers for centuries. But now, with the strange discoveries of quantum mechanics, we may be closer than ever to uncovering the truth. Neuroscientists can scan the brain, track electrical signals, and even pinpoint which regions activate when we experience love, fear, or curiosity. But these measurements only show activity, not experience. You can map the neurons firing when someone sees the color red, but that doesn't explain why they feel red, why they experience it as a deep, rich shade rather than just a wavelength of light. This is the mystery of consciousness. We can explain how the brain processes information, but not why we experience anything at all. Why does a network of neurons give rise to subjective awareness? Why don't computers, which process information too, feel emotions, dream, or have an inner world? Some scientists argue that consciousness is just an illusion, a side effect of complex brain activity. But others believe we're missing something fundamental, something that defies the traditional view of reality. Could the answer lie not in neuroscience, but in quantum physics? Imagine a machine that processes information, analyzing data, responding to inputs, making calculations. It can perform complex tasks, even simulate human behavior. But does it feel anything? Does it experience joy, fear, or wonder? Or is it simply running an advanced program? This is the hard problem of consciousness, a term coined by philosopher David Chalmers. Unlike the easy problems of neuroscience, how the brain processes vision, movement, or memory, the hard problem asks a much deeper question. Why do we experience anything at all? Neuroscience can track electrical signals in the brain. It can pinpoint which regions activate when we think, dream, or feel. But no amount of brain scanning explains how those signals translate into subjective experience. Why does the color red look a certain way? Why does music evoke emotion? Why do we feel pain instead of just detecting nerve impulses? Some believe the answer lies not in the brain, but in the quantum world. Quantum physics already tells us that reality isn't as solid as it seems, that particles exist in multiple states, that observation affects outcomes, that information can exist beyond space and time. Could consciousness itself be a quantum phenomenon? If so, then the brain might not be generating consciousness at all. Instead, it might be receiving it, like an antenna tuning into a signal that exists beyond physical matter. And if that's true, then what we call reality may be something far stranger than we ever imagined. For centuries, scientists and philosophers have debated the true nature of consciousness. Is it just a product of brain activity, or is there something deeper at play? The dominant theory in modern neuroscience is materialism, the idea that consciousness is nothing more than the result of electrical signals and chemical reactions in the brain. According to this view, once the brain stops working, consciousness ceases to exist. Thoughts, emotions, and self-awareness are simply byproducts of biological machinery. But this explanation has its limits. If the brain is just a physical organ, why does it generate subjective experience? Why does it feel like something to be alive? Then there's dualism, an idea famously championed by René Descartes. He suggested that the mind and body are two separate things. The physical brain controls bodily functions, but consciousness exists in a separate, non-physical realm. This view opens the door to ideas of an afterlife, reincarnation, or even consciousness existing beyond the body. But what if consciousness isn't just confined to humans? A growing number of scientists are considering panpsychism, the idea that consciousness is a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. This theory suggests that all matter, even down to individual atoms, might possess some form of awareness. Could this mean that the universe itself is conscious? That every particle, every wave, every interaction is part of a greater, thinking whole? If that's the case, then our minds may not just be trapped in our skulls. They could be tapping into something much larger, something cosmic. Imagine a coin spinning in the air. While it's flipping, is it heads or tails? The answer is both. It exists in a state of possibility, neither one nor the other, until it lands. Now, shrink that idea down to the quantum level, and you have superposition. In the strange world of quantum mechanics, particles don't have a definite state until they are observed. Instead of being here or there, an electron, for example, exists in all possible locations at once, like a ghostly blur of probability. But the moment you observe it, the superposition collapses. The electron chooses a position. It's as if reality is undecided until something, an observer, a measurement, a conscious mind, forces it to make a choice. This is one of the most bizarre and unsettling discoveries in physics. If observation determines reality at the smallest scales of existence, then what does that mean for us? Could our own awareness be playing a role in shaping the world around us? Some researchers believe that consciousness itself might be linked to this process, that our minds, like quantum particles, exist in multiple states until we decide on a reality. If that's true, then our thoughts, our choices, and even our perceptions could be influencing reality in ways we've only begun to understand. In the bizarre world of quantum mechanics, a particle doesn't exist in just one place. It exists in all possible places at once. This is called superposition. But here's the strangest part. The moment we observe a particle, its fuzzy, probabilistic existence collapses into a single, definite state. This is known as wave function collapse, a mystery that has baffled physicists for decades. Why does observation cause reality to solidify? Is it simply a measurement issue, or is there something deeper at play? Some physicists, like Nobel laureate Eugene Wigner, suggested that consciousness itself plays a role in collapsing the wave function. In other words, the very act of thinking about something might influence how it behaves at a fundamental level. If true, this could mean that reality isn't truly real until a conscious observer interacts with it. The universe, in a way, remains in a state of potential until a mind, human or otherwise, forces it to take shape. Could this explain the power of intention, belief, and even reality-shaping phenomena? And if consciousness plays a fundamental role in creating reality, then what exactly is the universe before we look at it? In the bizarre world of quantum mechanics, two particles can become entangled, meaning their states are mysteriously linked, no matter how far apart they are. Change the state of one particle, and the other instantly responds, even if it's on the opposite side of the universe. This phenomenon, known as quantum entanglement, was once dismissed by Einstein as spooky action at a distance. But experiments have confirmed it's real. Scientists have entangled particles over distances of hundreds of miles, defying classical physics. But here's the real mystery. How do these particles communicate instantaneously? According to Einstein's theory of relativity, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, yet entangled particles seem to exchange information instantly. Could this strange connection hint at something deeper? Some theorists suggest that entanglement might play a role in consciousness itself. If the brain operates on quantum principles, could thoughts, emotions, or even consciousness be entangled across space and time? This could explain reports of telepathy, intuition, or even why we sometimes feel instantly connected to another person. Could it be that our minds, like entangled particles, are linked in ways we don't yet understand? One of the most baffling experiments in history is the double-slit experiment, a simple test that shattered our understanding of reality. Imagine firing tiny particles, like electrons, at a barrier with two slits. If particles were like tiny marbles, they should pass through one slit or the other, forming two lines on the screen behind. But that's not what happens. Instead, when left unobserved, the electrons behave like waves, creating an interference pattern, as if they passed through both slits at once. But here's where it gets strange. The moment scientists observe which slit the electron goes through, the wave function collapses, and the electron behaves like a particle again, landing in just one spot. It's as if the act of watching forces reality to choose. This raises a chilling question. Does observation create reality? Could it be that consciousness itself plays a role in shaping the physical world? Some scientists suggest this experiment hints at a deeper connection between the mind and matter. Perhaps our thoughts interact with the quantum realm in ways we don't yet understand. If true, this could mean human consciousness is not just a byproduct of the brain, but a force capable of influencing reality at its most fundamental level. But if reality shifts when we observe it, what is reality before we look? In the world of quantum mechanics, nothing is certain until it is observed. This is the foundation of the observer effect, the strange phenomenon where particles exist in multiple states at once, but the moment they are measured, they collapse into a single reality. This raises a profound question. Does the act of observation create reality itself? In the famous double-slit experiment, physicists discovered that light can behave both as a particle and a wave. When unobserved, it spreads out like a wave, passing through two slits simultaneously. But the moment it is measured, when someone looks, the wave collapses into a particle, choosing only one path. Why does this happen? Why does a mere act of observation seem to change reality? Some physicists propose that consciousness itself might be the key factor, that reality doesn't truly exist in a definite state until it is observed by a conscious mind. If this is true, it challenges everything we think we know. Could consciousness be actively shaping the universe, moment by moment? Is reality merely a vast sea of probabilities, waiting to be locked in by an observer? And if the mind can influence the physical world at a quantum level, how much power do we really have over our own reality? If observation collapses quantum possibilities into a single reality, could our thoughts and intentions influence the physical world? Some researchers and spiritual traditions believe this could explain manifestation, the power of belief, and even psychic phenomena. Take the placebo effect. When patients experience real healing simply because they believe a treatment is working, could belief itself be altering reality on a quantum level? Experiments in random number generators have suggested that human intention can subtly influence outcomes, defying statistical randomness. Could this be an example of consciousness interacting with the fabric of reality? Some even speculate that quantum principles might be behind phenomena like ESP, telekinesis, and precognition, abilities often dismissed as pseudoscience but reported across cultures for centuries. If the brain operates at the edge of quantum uncertainty, could some individuals be naturally better at tuning into these effects? Could consciousness itself be an active participant in the unfolding of reality, rather than just a passive observer? And if thoughts have real power in the quantum realm, what does that mean for our ability to shape the world around us? What if the world around you isn't just something you observe, but something your mind actively constructs? For centuries, we've been taught that reality exists independently of us, that the universe is a cold, objective place, and we are merely observers, watching events unfold. But quantum mechanics suggests something radically different. Perception isn't passive. It might be the foundation of existence itself. The double-slit experiment hints that particles don't choose a definite state until they are observed. This implies that the very act of looking at something might determine what it becomes. But if reality is shaped by observation, then what is reality before we observe it? Some scientists believe the universe exists in a state of probability, a swirling cloud of possibilities, until consciousness interacts with it. In other words, your perception could be actively shaping the world around you, moment by moment. Could this explain why two people can experience the same event so differently? Could it suggest that what we believe, expect, or focus on might literally influence the reality we experience? If true, this wouldn't just change science, it would change everything we know about life itself. If the brain were just an advanced biological machine, consciousness should emerge purely from its complexity. But what if that isn't the whole story? Nobel Prize-winning physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff proposed something radical. Consciousness doesn't just arise from brain chemistry, It's a quantum process woven into the very fabric of reality itself. Their theory, known as orchestrated objective reduction, orchestra, suggests that tiny structures in brain cells, called microtubules, process information at the quantum level. Unlike classical computers, which rely on bits flipping between zeros and ones, quantum computers use superposition, allowing information to exist in multiple states simultaneously. If the brain works similarly, it could explain intuition, creativity, and even why we have subjective experience at all. But the implications go even deeper. Penrose and Hameroff suggest that quantum processes in the brain might be linked to space-time itself, meaning that consciousness isn't just a product of the brain, but a fundamental feature of the universe. This would mean that when the brain dies, consciousness doesn't vanish. It simply returns to the quantum field. Could this explain near-death experiences? Past life memories? A deeper interconnectedness between all living things? If true, then consciousness isn't just a side effect of neurons firing, it's something much, much bigger. Some scientists believe that quantum coherence, the ability of quantum systems to exist in multiple states at once, could be happening inside the brain. If true, this would mean that the mind isn't just following predictable, mechanical processes, but instead operates in a realm of uncertainty, probability, and possibility. Think about intuition, those moments when you just know something without logical reasoning. Could quantum superposition allow your brain to process multiple possibilities at once, arriving at solutions faster than traditional computation? What about creativity, those flashes of inspiration that seem to come from nowhere? If consciousness is tapping into a quantum field, could ideas be emerging from outside the brain itself? And then there's free will. Classical physics suggests that all actions are determined by prior causes, meaning everything, including our choices, was already decided before we even thought about them. But if the brain operates on quantum principles, then our decisions could be based on probabilities rather than predetermined events. Could this mean that consciousness isn't bound by material laws, that our minds are more than just biological machines? Could it mean that our thoughts, ideas, and decisions arise from a realm far beyond our physical bodies? And if so, what exactly is the brain connecting to? Imagine for a moment that reality isn't what it seems, that everything we see, feel, and experience is merely a projection from a deeper, hidden layer of existence. This is the idea behind the holographic universe theory, a radical concept suggesting that the three-dimensional world we live in is actually encoded on a two-dimensional surface, much like a hologram. But if our physical reality is an illusion of sorts, then what does that mean for consciousness? Physicist David Bohm proposed that what we perceive as reality is just the explicate order, the surface layer of existence. Beneath it lies a hidden order, the implicate order, where everything in the universe is deeply interconnected. Could it be that our minds are not confined to our brains, but are instead part of a universal field of consciousness? Could our thoughts, dreams, and even our very identities be ripples in this vast quantum ocean? If true, this would mean that what we call individual consciousness is simply a small fragment of something far greater, a universal mind that exists beyond space and time. And if the universe is a hologram, could that mean our entire reality is programmed? A grand simulation designed to make us believe we are separate when in fact we are all one? For thousands of years, spiritual traditions across the world have described consciousness as the fundamental force of reality, not a byproduct of the brain, but the essence of existence itself. In Hinduism, the concept of Brahman refers to a universal consciousness that pervades everything, while Atman, the individual soul, is believed to be an extension of this cosmic intelligence. This sounds eerily similar to the idea that our minds might be quantum receivers, tapping into a greater field of reality. In Buddhism, the concept of sunyata, emptiness, suggests that the material world is an illusion, that reality is not fixed but shaped by perception. This aligns strikingly with quantum mechanics, where observation itself determines how particles behave. Could the observer effect in physics mirror the Buddhist idea that reality only exists because we perceive it? Even in Western esoteric traditions, figures like Hermes Trismegistus taught that the all is mind, that reality is ultimately mental in nature. Could this ancient teaching be a primitive understanding of quantum mind theories, which suggest that consciousness might be woven into the fundamental structure of the universe itself? Is it possible that science is only now beginning to uncover what mystics, sages, and philosophers have known for millennia? And if the ancients were right, what does that mean for how we understand reality? In laboratories across the world, experiments have attempted to answer a question that has haunted philosophers and scientists alike. Can the human mind influence reality itself? One of the most controversial and intriguing studies comes from the Global Consciousness Project, a decades-long experiment analyzing random number generators, RNGs. Normally, these devices produce unpredictable sequences, pure chance, unaffected by any external force. But researchers found something strange. During moments of global significance, events like 9/11, the death of Princess Diana, or major natural disasters, these random numbers began displaying patterns. It was as if mass human emotion, shared across millions of minds, was subtly shaping the outcomes. Could this be proof that human consciousness is entangled with reality at a quantum level? If thoughts have measurable effects on the world, then what else might be possible? Could collective belief, shared by enough people, actually bend reality? Could ancient practices like prayer, meditation, and manifestation have a scientific basis? And if the mind can reach beyond the body, could this mean we are far more powerful than we ever imagined? Some of the strangest quantum experiments suggest that human intention might influence probability itself. Take the Global Consciousness Project, where researchers placed random number generators around the world, expecting them to produce chaotic, unpredictable data. Yet, during major global events, 9/11, the death of Princess Diana, even mass meditations, the numbers showed statistical anomalies, as if collective human focus was subtly influencing the machines. In the PAIR, Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research experiments, participants were asked to mentally influence random number generators. Repeatedly, the results showed small but statistically significant shifts, suggesting that consciousness might have a real, albeit subtle, effect on physical systems. If true, could this be the missing explanation behind ESP, extrasensory perception? If the brain is interacting with a deeper field of reality, could telepathy or remote viewing be real phenomena? Psychokinesis? Could focused intention truly alter the material world? The placebo effect? If thoughts can shape biological processes, could belief itself be an act of quantum influence? Skeptics argue that these results are just statistical noise, coincidences without true significance. But if the mind is truly entangled with reality, even in ways we don't yet understand, what else might we be capable of? Many people report experiences that defy explanation, floating above their body, seeing a brilliant light, or feeling an overwhelming sense of unity with the universe itself. Science dismisses these as hallucinations, tricks of a dying brain. But what if they're glimpses into something deeper? Could consciousness exist beyond the body, beyond the brain, perhaps even beyond death? Some physicists believe the answer might lie in quantum mechanics. If particles can exist in multiple states at once, If information can travel instantly across vast distances, then could the mind operate on the same principles? Could this explain extrasensory perception, telepathy, or even the power of belief itself? There are countless documented cases of inexplicable recoveries, people overcoming terminal illnesses simply because they believed they could. Placebo-controlled studies show that belief alone can trigger real physiological change. Could consciousness itself shape reality in ways we don't yet understand? And if it can, what does that mean for free will? Are our choices truly our own, or are they governed by forces beyond our perception? Some researchers believe quantum processes in the brain allow for real choice, an escape from the cold determinism of classical physics. Others argue that the mind is simply a receiver, tapping into a universal field of information, much like a radio picks up signals from the air. If that's true, then where do our thoughts really come from? Are they generated inside our skulls, or are they part of something much larger? Something woven into the very fabric of reality itself? If consciousness is not just a byproduct of the brain but a fundamental aspect of the universe itself, could it persist after death? Some scientists propose that the brain doesn't generate consciousness but instead receives it, like a radio picking up signals. If this is true, then when the brain dies, consciousness wouldn't necessarily vanish. It could simply exist in another form. People who have had near-death experiences often report sensations that defy neuroscience, floating outside their bodies, seeing a tunnel of light, encountering deceased loved ones. Traditional science says these are hallucinations caused by a dying brain, but some researchers believe quantum mechanics may hold a deeper explanation. If consciousness exists in a quantum state, could death simply be a transition into a different quantum reality? The orchestra theory, proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, suggests that consciousness arises from quantum processes within microtubules inside brain cells. If true, this would mean that when the body dies, quantum information within the microtubules is released into the universe, possibly explaining why some people report out-of-body experiences or visions of another realm. Could this also connect to reincarnation? Some cases suggest that young children recall vivid details of past lives, memories they should have no way of knowing. If consciousness is part of a vast quantum field, could memories and experiences be imprinted beyond the physical self? This idea isn't just found in science. Many spiritual traditions across history describe consciousness as existing independently of the body. Mystics, shamans, and ancient philosophers all spoke of a universal mind, an interconnected web of existence. Could quantum physics be uncovering what these traditions have known for centuries? If the mind is not confined to the body, what does that mean for the nature of reality itself? Are we individual beings, or are we all fragments of something greater, connected by an unseen force that science is only beginning to understand? Some scientists argue that the universe itself functions like a giant quantum computer, constantly processing information at the most fundamental level of reality. If true, this would mean that every particle, every force, every interaction is not just matter and energy, but data, bits of information woven into the very structure of existence. If the universe is computing reality in real time, then where does consciousness fit in? Could our minds be quantum processors, interfacing with this cosmic system? Some physicists suggest that our thoughts, memories, and even our sense of self might not be confined to the brain but instead stored in a vast informational field beyond space and time. If this is the case, what happens when we die? Does consciousness simply shut off, or does it continue, uploaded into the great quantum system that underlies all of reality? Some believe this could explain near-death experiences, moments where people claim to have glimpsed another realm, a reality beyond this one. And if consciousness is an integral part of the cosmic equation, then what role do we play? Are we passive observers or active participants in shaping the world around us? Could the very act of thinking, of perceiving, be influencing reality in ways we are only beginning to understand? If consciousness is not confined to the brain but instead a fundamental property of the universe, could our entire reality be a kind of simulation, one designed to generate experience? Some physicists and philosophers have suggested that reality itself may function like a vast quantum computation, where what we perceive as solid matter is actually information being processed at an unfathomable scale. The simulation hypothesis, popularized by thinkers like Nick Bostrom, argues that if advanced civilizations could simulate consciousness, then it's statistically more likely that we are in a simulation rather than a base reality. But what if this simulation isn't a product of technology at all? What if reality itself is a self-generating program, one where consciousness is both the observer and the creator? Quantum mechanics already suggests that observation shapes reality. The famous double-slit experiment shows that particles behave differently when measured, as if responding to awareness. If observation is fundamental to existence, then is reality unfolding as we perceive it? The Hindu concept of Maya describes the physical world as an illusion, a projection of consciousness rather than a fixed external reality. Could modern quantum theories be rediscovering what ancient wisdom has known all along? Even within physics, some suggest that the universe behaves like a hologram, with three-dimensional reality emerging from deeper, hidden layers of information. If space and time themselves are mere constructs, then what is left? Consciousness. If our minds are not merely products of the brain, but instead connected to an underlying field of information, then what role do we play in shaping this reality? Are we trapped inside a system we cannot control, or are we actively participating in the creation of our own existence? Time. Something we take for granted, yet something quantum physics calls into question. Is time truly linear, moving from past to future like an unstoppable river? Or is it an illusion, something consciousness constructs to make sense of existence? Quantum mechanics suggests that at the smallest scales, time doesn't behave the way we experience it. Particles can exist in a superposition of different times, seemingly affecting the past and future simultaneously. In experiments, certain particles have even exhibited retrocausality, where future events appear to influence the past. Could the human mind operate outside of time? Some researchers believe consciousness is not bound by the ticking of a clock, but instead taps into a deeper reality where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Could this explain precognition? Those eerie moments when people seem to anticipate events before they happen? Or déjà vu, where a place or experience feels strangely familiar, as if it has happened before? Some even speculate that our minds might be shifting between alternate timelines, parallel realities where small changes ripple across existence. If time is not absolute, then what does that mean for us? Are we simply moving forward through existence, or are we quantum travelers? Our thoughts, memories, and experiences stretching beyond the constraints of time itself? Skeptics argue that quantum mechanics, while undeniably strange, doesn't belong in the discussion of consciousness. The human brain, they claim, is too warm, wet, and chaotic for delicate quantum effects to persist. Quantum states are incredibly fragile. They collapse quickly due to interactions with their environment, a phenomenon known as decoherence. In the cold, controlled environment of a lab, quantum behavior can be preserved, but in the constant electrical and chemical activity of the brain, many physicists believe any quantum states would vanish too quickly to influence thought. This leads to an alternative explanation. Perhaps consciousness doesn't need quantum mechanics at all. Many neuroscientists argue that self-awareness is simply an emergent property, a phenomenon that arises when complex systems reach a certain level of intricacy. The same way a colony of ants can display intelligent behavior even though no single ant is intelligent, perhaps neurons firing in vast, interconnected patterns create the illusion of a unified self. If this is true, then consciousness may not be fundamental to the universe. It may just be an advanced form of biological computation. In this view, thoughts, emotions, and even free will could be nothing more than the result of chemical reactions and electrical impulses, a sophisticated program running on the hardware of the brain. And yet, despite these explanations, the mystery remains. Why do we experience consciousness rather than simply process information like a machine? If the brain is just a biological computer, why do we feel? Why do we have a sense of self at all? Even if quantum mechanics turns out to have no role in consciousness, the search for understanding continues. Whether it emerges from neurons or exists beyond physical matter, the fact remains. We still do not know what consciousness truly is. Scientists are now venturing into uncharted territory, designing experiments to test whether quantum effects play a role in human consciousness. Could our thoughts, emotions, and awareness be influenced by the same bizarre quantum principles that govern the universe? Cutting-edge research is already underway. Studies are investigating whether microtubules, tiny structures inside brain cells, might support quantum coherence, allowing information to process in ways beyond classical physics. If true, this could mean that consciousness isn't just an emergent property of the brain, but something far more fundamental, perhaps even linked to the very fabric of the cosmos. But if quantum consciousness is real, what does that mean for the future? Could unlocking this mystery allow us to reach higher states of awareness, expanding the limits of human perception? Could it explain near-death experiences, intuition, or even the phenomenon of telepathy? And what if consciousness extends beyond the body? Some theorists believe that if the mind is connected to a universal quantum field, it might transcend time and space, allowing for forms of communication we've never imagined. As technology advances, we may soon discover that consciousness is not an isolated phenomenon, but an integral part of the universe itself. If that's true, then the biggest question remains: what are we truly capable of? Dreams have long been a source of fascination, unpredictable, immersive, and often more vivid than waking life. But what if they aren't just hallucinations of the sleeping brain? What if dreams are windows into something much deeper, a quantum connection to parallel realities? Some physicists and consciousness researchers propose that our minds, when freed from the constraints of waking perception, might tap into the quantum realm. Unlike our ordinary experience of time, linear, orderly, and predictable, quantum mechanics suggests that reality operates in a much stranger way. Superposition, entanglement, and non-locality hint at a universe where multiple possibilities coexist, and some researchers wonder if dreaming might be our way of accessing them. Theories of quantum cognition suggest that the brain itself may act like a quantum computer, momentarily freeing us from fixed states of reality while we sleep. If this is true, could dreams be glimpses of parallel timelines, alternate versions of events that might have unfolded differently in our waking lives? Could déjà vu be a symptom of remembering these alternate timelines? Then there's the question of lucid dreaming, the rare and exhilarating state in which one becomes fully aware of dreaming and can even control it. Some argue that this experience might be a form of quantum cognition, where the brain temporarily accesses the deeper mechanics of reality. But if dreams connect to something beyond the physical, what does that say about our waking consciousness? Are we truly bound by the limits of time and space? Or is the mind capable of navigating dimensions we have yet to understand? In the bizarre world of quantum physics, observation isn't just passive, it changes reality. This is the observer effect, one of the most perplexing phenomena in science. At the smallest scales, particles don't seem to exist in a definite state until they are measured. In the famous double-slit experiment, a photon or electron acts like a wave when unobserved, but collapses into a particle when measured. The mere act of looking forces nature to choose an outcome. But what does this mean for human consciousness? Physicist John Wheeler took this idea further with his participatory universe theory. He suggested that observation doesn't just influence the present, it might reach back into the past, shaping reality itself. That before something exists, it requires an observer to bring it into being. Could this mean that consciousness is an active force in the unfolding of the cosmos? And if an individual mind has such an impact, what about collective human consciousness? In experiments, groups of people focusing on intention have been shown to influence random number generators, leading to speculation that mass consciousness might have a measurable effect on reality. Could global meditation, collective emotions, or even mass belief systems subtly shift the probability landscape of the universe? Skeptics argue that quantum effects are confined to the subatomic world, with no real impact on daily life. But if observation truly alters existence at the smallest level, could the fabric of reality itself be shaped by the way we perceive it? In the world of quantum mechanics, time does not behave the way we expect. What if the present could change the past? What if every decision, every observation, was rewriting reality itself, without us even knowing? The quantum delayed choice experiment is one of the most mind-bending discoveries in physics. It suggests that when we observe a particle, we don't just influence its future, we may also alter its past. The experiment builds on the famous double-slit experiment, where particles behave like waves when unobserved but collapse into a single state when measured. But in this version, the decision to observe is made after the particle has already traveled. And yet, somehow, the act of measuring seems to retroactively decide how the particle behaved before it was measured. This challenges everything we think we know about time. If reality is determined not just by what has already happened, but by how we observe it now, could the same be true for human consciousness? Could our perceptions, thoughts, or even emotions be influencing past events in ways we don't understand? Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that our memories, choices, and even regrets could be shifting the past on a fundamental level. If true, this would mean that our personal history isn't as fixed as we assume. Are we unknowingly rewriting our own lives? Could our intentions and awareness actively reshape the timeline? The implications for free will, destiny, and the nature of time itself are staggering. If observation plays a role in determining reality at a quantum level, does this mean our consciousness is more powerful than we realize? And if the past is still malleable, could it explain strange phenomena like retroactive synchronicities, spontaneous memory shifts, or even the Mandela effect? What if every moment you are not just moving forward in time, but reaching back, shaping the past, and sculpting reality itself? Some of the most cutting-edge theories in physics propose a radical idea. Space itself may be conscious. Could the very fabric of reality be thinking? Could the universe be aware? Physicists studying quantum mechanics have discovered that the universe is not just a collection of matter, it is also information. Every particle, every force, every interaction follows precise mathematical rules, almost as if reality were being computed. Some researchers believe this isn't a coincidence. The theory of quantum informational realism suggests that the universe is fundamentally information processing itself, much like a vast, self-evolving computational system. But here's the question. If the universe processes information, could that be a form of consciousness? Some key ideas. The holographic principle. Some physicists believe that the entire universe might function like a vast hologram, where the information describing reality is encoded on the fabric of space itself. Emergent consciousness. If individual neurons in the brain can give rise to self-awareness, could the information patterns of the universe itself generate something akin to cosmic consciousness? Panpsychism and quantum mind theories. Ancient spiritual traditions have long suggested that consciousness permeates all things. If the universe computes reality, could consciousness simply be another emergent layer of that computation? If this is true, it could mean that space itself isn't empty, it's an active participant in shaping existence. And if consciousness is fundamental to the universe, then are we truly just observers, or are we part of the universe's mind? You meet someone for the first time, and within seconds, it feels like you've known them forever. A deep, inexplicable connection, almost as if your minds are tuned to the same frequency. Could this be more than just chemistry or coincidence? In quantum physics, entanglement describes how two particles, even when separated by vast distances, remain mysteriously connected. When one changes, the other responds instantly, as if distance doesn't exist. But what if this concept extends beyond the subatomic world? Could human consciousness itself be entangled, allowing certain individuals to share thoughts, emotions, or even experiences across time and space? Some scientists propose that human emotions and brain waves operate at specific frequencies, much like radio signals. When two people meet, their subconscious minds could be tuning into these frequencies, aligning with certain individuals while rejecting others. This might explain why some connections feel effortless, while others feel forced or out of sync. There are countless stories of twin telepathy, where one sibling senses the other's pain or emotions even when miles apart. Couples finishing each other's sentences, best friends experiencing the same thoughts at the same moment, even strangers feeling an instant pull toward one another. Could these be echoes of a deeper, quantum-level connection? If our thoughts and consciousness interact with quantum fields, could we be resonating with people who share a similar energetic frequency? If so, does this mean that some relationships are not just psychological, but entangled at the most fundamental level of reality? And if quantum resonance is real, could it be the missing link in understanding intuition, synchronicity, and even the strange, magnetic pull we feel toward certain souls? Deep within the fabric of space lies something truly strange, the zero-point field. Even in the cold, empty void of space, where no particles should exist, there is still a constant, seething energy. This is the lowest possible energy state of the universe, yet paradoxically, it contains limitless potential energy. But what if this isn't just a random feature of physics? What if the human mind interacts with it? Some physicists and radical thinkers suggest that consciousness may have access to the zero-point field, possibly explaining mystical experiences, heightened states of awareness, or even unexplained mental phenomena. Could the brain be more than just a biological computer? Could it act as a quantum antenna, tuning into the background energy of the cosmos? Key ideas. The zero-point energy hypothesis. The universe is filled with fluctuating quantum energy at all times, meaning that what we see as empty space is actually an infinite sea of energy. Meditation and altered states. Some theories suggest that practices like deep meditation or psychedelic experiences could momentarily align the mind with the quantum vacuum, unlocking new insights, heightened intuition, or even unexplained abilities. Energy healing and psi phenomena. Could individuals who claim to heal with energy or demonstrate telepathic abilities be unconsciously harnessing quantum fluctuations? If the mind is somehow tapping into the energy of the universe itself, this could mean that human potential is far greater than we have ever imagined. It also raises a profound question. What if the key to unlocking higher states of consciousness lies not in the brain alone, but in the very fabric of the cosmos? You recall a vivid memory from childhood, the scent of the air, the exact way the sunlight filtered through the trees. But what if that memory isn't just stored in your brain? Some scientists propose a radical idea. Memories might not reside solely in the neurons of the brain, but instead be embedded in a vast quantum information field. Consider near-death experiences. Countless reports of people seeing their entire lives flash before their eyes in stunning detail, even recalling events they had long forgotten. Or children who claim to have memories of past lives, providing eerily accurate historical details they should have no way of knowing. Are these merely anomalies of the brain, or could they point to something more profound? Orchestrated objective reduction, orchestra, a theory proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, suggests that consciousness doesn't emerge from neural activity alone. Instead, it is the result of quantum computations happening inside microtubules within brain cells. If this is true, then our memories, our very awareness, may not be limited to our biological brains but instead exist as part of a non-local quantum information network. Could this mean that our minds are simply receivers, tuning into information that already exists beyond us? If so, this would explain near-death experiences, where consciousness seems to persist even when the brain is clinically inactive. Past life memories, as cases of children recalling lives they've never lived, could be echoes of information embedded in a larger field. Unexplained intuition, where insights appear suddenly, as if plucked from a hidden well of knowledge. If quantum memory is real, then death may not erase consciousness. It may simply be a shift in perception, a change of frequency in an infinite quantum field of existence. Every moment of our lives feels like a sequence of choices. Turn left or right, say yes or no, take the risk or play it safe. But what if our decisions don't just happen in a linear, cause and effect way? What if every possible choice already exists in a quantum probability cloud, waiting to be selected? In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition, multiple states at once, until observed. If this principle extends beyond the microscopic world, could our own lives be playing out in a similar way? Could reality itself be branching off into infinite possibilities, only collapsing into a single outcome when we make a decision? Strange phenomena like déjà vu, intuition, and sudden gut decisions might hint at something deeper. Have you ever felt like you just knew what was going to happen? Or had a moment where reality felt oddly familiar, as if you had already lived it before? Some researchers speculate that our consciousness may be interacting with this quantum landscape, subtly aware of multiple possible futures before settling on one. Key ideas: quantum superposition and decision-making. Are we constantly living in a state where multiple realities exist until we choose one? Déjà vu as a quantum effect. Could déjà vu be a moment where we briefly perceive an alternate version of our choices, as if our brain is skipping between timelines? Intuition and the probability cloud. If our mind exists in a quantum state, could gut feelings be the result of accessing probable future outcomes? If true, this suggests that our choices may not be as rigid as they seem. Instead of a fixed future, we could be navigating a quantum sea of possibilities, with each decision subtly shaping the trajectory of our reality. You close your eyes, focus on an intention, and visualize a future event unfolding exactly as you desire. Could this simple act of conscious thought be influencing reality at the quantum level? Some researchers believe it might. They argue that the mind is not just a passive observer of reality but an active participant, one capable of collapsing wave functions and shaping outcomes. Quantum mechanics tells us that particles exist in a state of superposition, multiple possibilities, until observed. The famous double-slit experiment suggests that mere observation determines whether a particle behaves like a wave or a particle. But what if intention alone has a similar effect? Studies like the Global Consciousness Project have hinted that mass human attention might influence seemingly random physical systems. Random number generators, RNGs, placed around the world have shown statistical anomalies during major global events, as if collective human focus alters the randomness of reality itself. Experiments have attempted to test whether focused thought can directly influence quantum behavior. Some of the most intriguing findings include meditation and brainwave states. Advanced meditators have demonstrated unusual electromagnetic activity in the brain, suggesting altered states of perception and interaction with the quantum field. Water molecule experiments. Studies inspired by Masaru Emoto's work claim that human emotions can alter the molecular structure of water. Could this be an example of consciousness affecting matter? The Pear Lab, Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab, conducted experiments for decades showing that focused human intention could produce small but statistically significant effects on random physical systems. Can we learn to hack consciousness? If reality is shaped by observation, intention, and focus, then could training the mind unlock deeper control over life itself? Some believe that practices like visualization techniques, mentally rehearsing an event before it happens, deep meditation and altered states, accessing the subconscious quantum mind, manifestation practices, using directed thought to shape probability, could train the brain to interface with the quantum world, making quantum consciousness not just a theoretical idea, but an actionable tool. If this is true, then the question isn't just whether we observe reality, it's whether we are actively creating it every moment with every thought. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything around you, the sky, the ground, your own thoughts, might not be fundamentally real. Not in the way we think, at least. What if our entire reality is nothing more than a sophisticated simulation running on a cosmic supercomputer? This idea, known as the simulation hypothesis, suggests that the universe isn't an objective, physical space but rather a programmed environment governed by mathematical rules, much like a video game. And strangely enough, quantum mechanics itself might be the biggest clue that we are living in a simulated world. One of the biggest mysteries in physics is wave function collapse. The idea that a quantum particle exists in all possible states until it is observed. But why does reality only solidify when someone is looking at it? This behavior is eerily similar to how graphics in a video game only render when a player is looking in that direction. A process designed to save computational power. Could this mean that our reality, too, is being processed on demand? Even the Planck scale, the smallest possible unit of space and time, seems suspiciously similar to the pixelation of a digital image, suggesting that the universe might have a fundamental resolution, as if it were constructed out of discrete bits of information. Some scientists propose that consciousness itself is not separate from the simulation but is actually the user interface, a way for us to interact with the programmed reality in a way that feels immersive and natural. Key questions to explore. Is the universe being rendered like a simulation, with reality forming only when observed? Does the fundamental pixelation of space-time suggest we are living in a programmed environment? If consciousness is part of the simulation, who or what is running it? If true, this would mean that the laws of physics aren't describing the nature of reality, but rather the rules of the simulation itself. And if the universe is programmed, that raises the ultimate question. Who or what is the programmer? The deeper we explore the mysteries of consciousness and quantum physics, the more we realize how little we truly understand. Could it be that your thoughts, your intentions, your very awareness are shaping the reality around you in ways you never imagined? If observation collapses a quantum wave function, could human perception itself be a force of creation? And if the brain is not the origin of consciousness but merely a receiver, tuning into a vast, universal field of intelligence, then what does that say about the nature of existence itself? Is our sense of self merely confined to the neurons firing inside our skulls, or are we part of something far greater, woven into the fabric of reality itself? Some physicists, mystics, and philosophers suggest that consciousness may be fundamental, not emergent, that it existed before matter, before time, and will continue long after the physical universe fades. If this is true, could it mean that consciousness is immortal? That we, in some form, exist beyond death, not as individuals, but as part of a boundless, cosmic intelligence? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, if quantum physics suggests the mind is more than the brain, if thoughts are more than fleeting electrical impulses, then what does that mean for the future of human understanding? Could unlocking the true nature of consciousness change everything we think we know about life, death, and the nature of reality itself?